Hey everyone, welcome to Bad Yogi Q&A Wednesday with me, Erin Motz, where I answer the questions that you sent me via email and social media too. I put a call out on social media to ask you guys what you were kind of struggling with or dealing with off the mat. And I expected typical things like eating well and time management and staying motivated and that kind of thing. But one of the things that was overwhelmingly present, besides the other stuff, which was there too, but the thing that stood out to me the most was how many of you were curious and wondering how you find that thing that you're passionate about and make a career out of it. And that question came in all different forms. You know, some of you called it passion, some of you called it purpose, some of you said that you were a little bit lost. There's a tram outside. So it came in all different forms, but regardless, the point was the same. That a lot of you guys feel like you're doing one thing and that's just not where you feel like you should be spending most of your time. It's not the thing that makes you excited to get up and go do in the morning. So I really wanted to talk about this because this is a particular subject that is very, very close to me and something that I wanted to bring up. There's a few different things that I just would talk about if I'm talking to someone who wants to find their purpose or find their passion. However you define it, this is the very first thing I would tell you. I want you to accept the notion that passion is very fickle. It evolves as you evolve. So allow the possibility that through the course of your life, you will be passionate about many different things. So let go of the pressure that you need to identify one single thing that you can be passionate about forever, because that probably won't be the case. So drop the stress of finding the one thing that will fulfill you for a lifetime. The second thing I would say is actually a quote that I remember reading a long time ago, and it was something like, if you want to know where your heart lies, look to where your mind wanders in moments of silence. And I really loved this because I think that's yet another thing that allows you to kind of let go of some of the pressure of finding the thing that you're passionate about, because usually the things that we're most interested in live in plain sight. We daydream about them, we imagine ourselves doing them, but we don't actively assume that we can do anything about them, especially if they just live in our head all the time. So for some of us, maybe it's dancing or singing or playing an instrument or performing or speaking or running a business or teaching yoga or being a doctor or a lawyer. I mean, it could be a million different things. So taking the time to be quiet with yourself, be quiet with your thoughts, allowing your mind to wander, which is a little bit different than a traditional meditation, but it has its value too. So allow yourself to be silent, see where your thoughts go, and find out what makes you feel good when you're thinking about that. The third thing that I would say is to indulge your curiosity. And sometimes this feels like a profound waste of time, especially for those of you that are very ambitious and you want to get to the point and figure it out, you know? But I think being curious about things leads you into tons of possibility. It just opens the gateway to whatever is possible. And I think that could mean so many different things. So being curious for you might mean taking a class, it might mean going to that new studio, it might mean trying something you've never tried before, it might mean doing the thing that is totally out of character for yourself but still calls to you anyway. I know that I try to encourage myself, because I get stuck in this loop of what do I do? I don't know. I encourage myself to do random things that I find. So like things that I see on Pinterest or little projects, like you read that coloring is good for stress, try coloring. You want to go to the beach when it's 9 o'clock at night, go to the beach at 9 o'clock at night. I think just allowing yourself the freedom to explore, to dabble, to do different things is really, really key to setting you on the right path of being open to what you might be passionate about. Because you might not know right off the top of your head, but as you explore, as you dabble in different things, you'll get closer and eventually you might surprise yourself. Another thing that I would say about this same idea is that actually something popped into my head the other day, right? So years ago when I was in college, I was obsessed with Target. But who isn't obsessed with Target, right? And I would go to Target all the time because I loved finding the things that they had on sale, you know? They have these end caps where you can find the coolest makeup case for $3 and it was normally $35 or something like that. And anyway, I just found such great joy in finding these things and sharing them with my family. Like, look at this deal I got, you know? And I remember Adrien's mom was like, oh my gosh, she'd joke with me and be like, you're like Target girl, you know? And I never thought about that. And I remember her saying like, oh, you should start a blog, haha, about this particular thing. Of course, I totally didn't think anything of it. And fast forward a bunch of years later to, I think 4 days ago, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw an Instagram account that was called Target Does It Again. And this girl has like 500,000 something followers, and she literally just takes pictures of cool things at Target. Seriously. And so this made me laugh because I was like, wow, it's so easy to blow off things that we're interested in as, I mean, that's not a thing, you know, that's not important, nobody cares about that. But that was a good, you know, that registered in my mind. So be curious, explore what you like, and go at it full throttle. And lastly, I just want to reiterate that you should definitely accept the notion that you will be passionate and interested about many different things in your life. Don't get hung up on trying to find one single thing. For example, I mean, for me, I never knew what I wanted to do with my life, really. And once upon a time, I took one yoga class, fell in love. This is awesome. Then somebody really pushed me to getting my certification to teach, which I didn't really want to do, but I did, and then I fell madly in love with teaching yoga. I still enjoy teaching yoga, but a few years ago, I found that I actually am really loving running a business. And then recently, I still love all of these things, but I also have reconnected to my passion for writing. So I think allowing flexibility is like the key here. So if you're stuck on where to go, where to start to look for what you're passionate about, look for what your purpose is, be curious, dabble, and be open to the fact that it might not be one single thing. Now, another thing that a lot of you guys asked was actually, okay, well, when I find something, when I'm interested in a thing, how do I make it a career? And I guess I know something about that, but the more I think about it, honestly, everything I know about making it a career, I actually learned from the Frenchman. So in that case, Frenchie. So I know I'm gonna make him very uncomfortable, but I am going to, So I'm making him very uncomfortable, but what I want to do is things that I think a lot of you struggle with that you ask me, I actually want to ask through him because you have taught me everything I know. So here we go. So definitely the first thing that people ask a lot about is like, okay, so I found the one thing, or I found something that I'm really curious about, passionate about, what do I do now? So you identify it, and like if you're just trying to go first step.
First things first is don't overcomplicate it. So a lot of people, I remember watching this one episode of a like comedy show, and basically it was this guy and his friend came up with this entire story about how they were going to reinvent the umbrella, and they created the entire path. And by like 20 minutes later, they're burning down their fictitious factory they built for the insurance money because the business was failing and they didn't know what to do. And that's what people do sometimes in their head. They just kind of like put things together, but they don't really know where things are gonna go because they never even started. So don't overcomplicate it. Try to figure out the simplest way to start. And the second thing I would say is that if it's not a little embarrassing, you're probably waiting too long to start. And your initial thing is going to be a little embarrassing, it's going to be a little imperfect, and you might just feel a little awkward putting it out there, but just do it, because the feedback that you get from it is more priceless than anything else. It's the awkwardness of you talking behind the camera and me sitting there like,
Okay, so the second thing that people ask, or that I would ask too even, is like, okay, you do it, but then you're terrified of failing. So yeah, it's face planting. I mean, how do you deal with fear of failure? Just getting over that.
Okay, so I think one of the things to kind of get in your head before you start down a project, whether it be an entrepreneurial project or any other type of project, is that face planting is part of it. Like it's almost like as a kid you're learning a bike. Would you ever expect your kid to ride the bike perfectly without falling? Like, you kind of expect the kid to fall. That's why you put pads on them. That's why you put a helmet on them, because you expect them to fall. It's part of the process. And similarly, in taking on a project or starting a business or whatever it is, you do want to put the pads on, the proverbial pads on, and the helmet. So you do want to kind of mitigate your risk to a certain degree, make sure that, you know, you're not mortgaging your entire life, but realize that falling is part of it, and it's not an end, it's just a part of a process that's much longer than that.
So the next question is, what would you tell people who would want to manage a job, like a career, and this new purpose or hobby or venture?
Okay, so for this, I would say it really depends on your personality. There are certain people that can handle it, and there are certain people that kind of need to just make a leap. And there's no one answer for anyone, but if you're the person that can really, you know, maintain a job and work on something on the side, just realize it's going to be a lot of work. There's going to be a lot of sleepless nights, and it's going to be very difficult at first to get both things running, because I remember my dad used to tell me this way. It was like a rocket. The hardest part of a flight, let's say to the moon or something like that, is getting off the ground. The first few feet is the hardest part, and that's really starting a business. So if you're starting a business parallel to run a full-time job, realize it's going to be challenging, but it is possible. And in some cases, depending on how cool your job is, you may actually be what some people consider an intrapreneur, which means that you can actually build whatever your project is, if it coincides with your job, within your company. So think about it that way too. If you know your employer is pretty cool and you see an opportunity, that might be another way to kind of start something while you're still in a job and still get the rewards of it being your project and being an entrepreneur.
Last question. Surprise question. Okay. So for people who, let's say, they're not like, oh, I want to build a business. It's not them, but people who just are like, I feel like I'm creative, or I feel like I have an interest that I haven't uncovered yet. What do you tell them too? Where it's like, yeah, but what's the purpose of it? I can't just be an ice skater, you know, part-time.
Oh, okay. So one of the things people get, especially now, because being an entrepreneur has been really like cool, and it's very popular right now, and everybody wants to be an entrepreneur because they see the rewards of it. But one of the things is, if you're really creative and you just want to do something, just do it. Just have fun doing it. Not everything has to be the next Facebook. Not everything has to be the next whatever. It can just be something for fun, and then if you see, oh, okay, people are really starting to enjoy it, then great, see where it goes. But not everything has to start out being this next billion-dollar company, and I think that stops a lot of people from just having fun and exploring their creativity.
Thanks for joining us today.
I was totally against this, because speaking behind the camera and then creeping over here like this.
Thank you so much. I love you. Who are you again? Just...
I don't know. I'm the Frenchman, I guess.
This is Adrien. He is the other half of Bad Yogi, and this was our terribly awkward presentation. Thank you so much. So there you have it, Q&A Wednesday. I really hope this was helpful. Now this was kind of a different kind of Q&A, so let me know what you think of it. If you like this topic, if you want to see more things like this, I had a really fun time doing it, so let us know. Make sure you stay in the loop with all Bad Yogi stuff, which means free classes, more Q&As like this, and a bunch of other secret things that I only talk about in email. Make sure you sign up, and I'll link that below. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you right back here next week.